Hey there, one and all, and welcome to an episode of Top Deck Thoughts. Now, you might notice that this is at a little bit of a new angle. It's mostly just because I kind of wanted to test it out. Plus, also, well, as you can probably notice, to my left or right, depending on technically my left, technically maybe your right, my little dog Iggy is taking a little bit of a nap there. So, cute doggo. Oh. But anyway, I kind of thought it would just be fun to get back to doing the Top Deck Thought episodes. It's been a while since I did one. Mostly it's just because life happened, had a lot of busy family stuff, as well as just stuff with job and such, so I had to, get used with that set of shenanigans and such, so more or less I had to do that. Nevertheless, still, a lot of stuff did happen throughout Magic, so we're going to go through a few topics here. We're actually going to cover two topics specifically, kill two birds, one stone. I thought that would be fun. One is my opinion on the 2022 format that's currently happening within Magic the Gathering Arena, as well as just talk about some 5 cards that I am happy that will be leaving standard rotation, as well as 5 cards I'm going to be missing. So I thought that would be fun to talk about, so let's talk about them in this episode of Top Deck Thoughts. Now, first topic we're going to talk about is, as stated before, currently on Arena there is the 2022 format. For those who don't know, who don't play Arena, the basic premise of this format is essentially it's a rotation-proof format. It essentially takes out a few of the sets that are going to be rotating out within the release of Innistrad Midnight Haunt, specifically, and I'm pretty sure I've listed all these, it's Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death, as well as Ikoria, and and essentially the core set of that year, which I believe was 2020, 2020, or it's 2021 actually. They do kind of weird with the core set symbol stuff. So, essentially, those sets had rotated out early, and the sets that we currently have in the standard 2022 format is specifically going from back with the forwards. We have essentially. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Adventures in Forgotten Realms, the recent set. We have the Strixhaven, and Kaldheim is technically the sets, as well as Zendikar Rising, is the sets that we currently now have within Standard. So, overall, what is kind of my takes on the specific format? Honestly, it's pretty fun. It's kind of a nice breath of fresh air compared to the kind of like current Standard at the moment. We're going to be talking about it once we talk about the cards I'm excited as well as going to miss with rotation, but Standard was kind of getting a little bit stale due to one really powerful set, but as stated before, we're going to get to that. So it is kind of nice to have this change of pace and actually see some of the more interesting card designs that came from more recent sets actually get their time to shine. Like the Learn package from Strixhaven, it's been actually fascinating. It's been fascinating to see how that's becoming a very popular archetype. Mostly because people don't have access to stuff like Yorion and such, so to get the additional value, they do have to incorporate the Learn package, and there are some very competent Learn cards. There's just good 2-drop Learn spells, there's good 3-drop Learn spells, so it's kind of fun to see people incorporate that within their deck designs to actually just have access to a variety of tech cards within the sideboard, or get a wide enough board for it to play cards like Mascot Exhibition, stuff like that, essentially. Also, I think another popular archetype that really did shine when it came out in Kaldheim, but it is actually nice to see it kind of get more legs, essentially. Maybe even a little bit too pushed, one could argue, is the Snow package within Kaldheim. A lot of decks, and I mean a lot of decks, have been trying to incorporate Snow within their deck design. Mostly just because the very powerful Snow spells that were in Kaldheim, specifically Frostbite, which gives us the closest thing we get to a Lightning Bolt removal spell in the format, as well as Blizzard Brawl, and of course the one that everybody who's been playing Black with the Snow package would know, Blood on the Snow, very powerful board wipe that's also a reanimation spell, and we've seen a lot of value-oriented mid-range Orzhov Snow-controlled deck designs that the basic premise is get value, and if you need to, play Blood on the Snow to replay your value. That's the basic Catch-22 premise. And even though Dungeons and Dragons was probably a lower powered set compared to the previous sets that are currently in the meta, it is kind of nice to actually see how the treasure package had been kind of incorporated and is seeing a lot of play. Like the cards that, how do I phrase this? It does seem like that Adventures in the Forgotten Realms had more or less essentially incorporated a treasure package, or at least allow people to be more daring with their treasure deck designs. Now, granted, yes, we're going to get to the argument that, yeah, most of it is just Goldspan Dragon deck lists. Yes, even I played one recently with Cody, essentially. But it is kind of fun how there's cards like Deadly Dispute, the Innkeeper, as well as the one-drop zombie that essentially help out with this treasure-based package. And it even gets to the point that there's sometimes what I jokingly call the standard 2022 format, the Lotus Petal format, since there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of treasure generation spells, whether it's through stuff from AFR, the little stuff that we got through Strixhaven, and even a little bit that we got through Kaldheim as well. There's a lot of treasure going around. It gives you the little ramp that you need to get to some late game threats, and we do have enough good late game threats in the format. Now, before we get going, what are the top decks in the format at the moment? Well, currently, the ones that I could think of right off the bat is why you can definitely get away with a lot of jank brews, which is kind of why I like the format a lot, if I'm being legitimately honest. The top decks of formats are, in my opinion, are the following. Is it Dragons, or is it Tempo? Very powerful archetype, uses the snow-based package very well as the dragon-based package and Goldspan Dragon in general, because it's just a powerful spell, as well as All-Around Epiphany. Very powerful deck archetype, and it also uses the one upgrade to that deck that came from Adventures in the Forgotten Realm that also helped out a lot is Dragonfire. Just being able to scale your threat to essentially deal from 3 to 4 damage. Very important in this format, especially with the other quote-unquote decks, such as Mono Green Stompy. Mono Green Stompy got a lot of upgrades as well. It got stuff like Ranger class, as well as just essentially being able to play some of the more stompier creatures that we have seen that are in the format, like the Troll, essentially, and other cards. Like, it is kind of interesting to see how Mono Green Stompy can do very well, especially with its Manland package, which, yet again, I can actually go into another topic on that one, but to put it short, while we're still going through the decks, another thing that's also within the Standard 22 format, a lot of Manlands. Like, AFR was the provider of it, essentially, as well as Zendikar Rising. Zendikar Rising provided some good Manlands, just like a few, but AFR was the one that brought all the Manlands of each different color pie, and it is surprising to see how many decks are going to play Manlands one way or another, which does make playing Control not impossible, but a little bit tricky. But yeah, Mono Green Stompy uses Lair of the Hydra very rare in that deck. It's a really silly deck, and of course it plays the Snow package because it allows it access to Blizzard Ball, which then allows their Stompy creatures to essentially get in for the lethal. Another good archetype is definitely the Mono White Aggro package using Paladin class. That one's been very good in the latter. Like, it is fascinating to see how good that deck is. Like, being able to use Paladin package to buff your creatures and make it where interactions a little bit trickier due to the stat increation with the first part of the class, and later down the line when you can level up the class to the essentially more or less the make one of your creatures have double strike. Very powerful. It's actually kind of fascinating because now that I'm actually talking about it, as much as people kind of wanted to say that AFR was a low powered set, it did actually provide some interesting staple cards that we have been seeing within the rotation proof format as we're talking, like the Manlands, classes, as well as just some nifty spot removal that the decks use. And before we finish off, I think that's all the top decks, but I do want to also mention Zendikar Rising's impact on the format. And it does have a little bit of impact. Like, most people have been noticing it due to the mill, essentially thanks to our little Ruin Crab friend, which, yeah, there's that. But there is also the factor that thanks to the pathways that we got from Zendikar Rising, even though technically also from Kaldheim as well, that helps out a lot with the mana fixing. You don't really see it that much, though, due to the factor that more or less a majority of the decks are either that are very, very powerful are 1 to 2 color deck designs. But if you do incorporate like a freak or rainbow colored deck design, it is actually really nifty to have those pathways as just backup lands to use and such. And the World Tree as well, of course. Besides that, though, I guess Rogues. Also, Rogues in Syndicate Rising was pretty good. We didn't really got that many good Rogues in AFR, at least not that I think of right off the top of the bat, but nevertheless, it is going to be kind of like interesting because I kind of been noticing how there's like little bits of mechanical synergies within the sets, mostly based on creature type archetypes or just essentially just like things that feel like they're trying to evergreen mechanic it, like treasure package, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how these mechanics interact and how they try to do cohesion when we go into Innistrad set in the fall, both Midnight Hunt as well as Crimson Oath. If they're going to have any synergies between the mechanics that we've seen through these past few sets that are still in the standard cycle. It's going to be very fascinating to see. And as I stated before, it's a fun format to get to because regular standard at the moment is a little bit stale. And how to explain that? Well, let's talk about the next topic on the list, shall we?